after the first bit. We're live, gentlemen. Cheers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, PT on Ice crew, Institute of Clinical Excellence. My name is Dustin Jones, physical therapist, one of two faculty with the older adult division. And I've got some friends, some familiar faces with me. So for you all listening on the podcast, you can't see these beautiful faces beside me, but who we got?
Mike Eisenhart, Population Health Division.
RJ Williams, Dizziness and Vestibular Division.
I like it. So I don't know if you all have noticed, but I've noticed that ever since you've come on, his facial hair has gotten larger.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
Jeff has trimmed up his beard, and he's shaving his head. So it's like we're like assimilating to this.
Only become one person.
Which I don't know if that's a good thing. But yeah, so we're here at Mike Eisenhart's hotel because he's a baller and actually stays in the hotel. RJ and I slept together in the Airbnb last night. But yeah, we're about to kick off CSM. So for those that aren't familiar, this is like the Super Bowl of physical therapy. I mean, we've got physical therapists walking right by in front of us, just headed down to the convention center. 16,000 people are going to be here, 6,000 of which are students, I heard. So this is a big deal. But we wanted to just get together, talk with y'all. Jason Robinson's in the building. That's good to hear. But wanted to talk about kind of why we're here. Mike, this guy, did an awesome episode on Monday. So he talked about, as he usually does, kind of 30,000 foot perspective on training versus, pursuing something, like in the pursuit of. And just to had me thinking about the why behind a lot of what I do, whether it's physical training or even this job. Like, why am I here at CSM? Why am I taking time away from my wife, from work, to come to this place in New Orleans with these chumps? I mean, my wife is so much cooler than they are.
Yeah, it's a downgrade.
But I think it's an important question that we should all ask. And I think Mike got a lot of us asking that question. So yeah, like what's our why? What are we in pursuit of? So I'll go first, and then you, all right, and then RJ. So in a previous life, I gave a graduation speech, and it was about professionalism. And the word, I don't know about you all, but when I hear the term professionalism, it kind of like, I don't know, it just like sounds like nails on a chalkboard. Because I usually associate that with, you dress a certain way, you say the certain words, you kind of like stone cold demeanor, you're very serious all the time. And then I learned that's not necessarily the case. And as I was preparing for this speech, I read a book, I think it's about Parker Palmer, if y'all are familiar with him. But he talked about being a professional is professing your faith in something, and not necessarily in the religious sense, but like you are saying that you believe in X, Y, and Z. So like when we graduated PT school, like we were professing our faith in physical therapy, and that has really stuck with me. And when I think about the why, or like what am I pursuing, like what am I professing faith in, I feel like for me the whole reason that we're like taking the time out of our busy schedules from family life and whatnot. For me in particular, it's about the older adult, like geriatrics. But I think for me the big goal is that I want to destroy the otherness that we have when we perceive older adults.
Man.
It's like,
I'm gonna have to go second. Just want to make sure it's clear. Good call on your part.
Well, no, just how like we talk about a lot of our patients, like we have them grouped up into these subgroups, and it's easy for us to just view them as like other types of people. Like there's more differences between us than them. They have these issues. I'm okay. I'm the professional. I'm doing just fine. And my gosh, you see that so clearly with older adults. These 80 and 90-year-olds that have X, Y, and Z, diagnoses, a laundry list of medications. Like you almost view them as like you're nothing close to them, but in reality, like that's the road that a lot of us are going down. We hope to be a part of that class, but even though we don't necessarily acknowledge it. So I feel like for me, if I could, whether it's with the Senior Rehab Project, the podcast, teaching the courses with ICE, interacting with my patients, with my colleagues, coming here to conferences, tweeting, Facebook, and all that stuff is just to see to break down that otherness that we see with older adults, to see that we are just like them. We are old people in training that we can serve them well with all the tools that we have. And so, there's several other whys for me. I think that's the big one. Break down the otherness that we see with older adults.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that is so. I've gotten fond of saying we're more alike than different, and I've tried to remind myself of that in many ways because I think it goes along the same lines. That we're built to see the differences. That's kind of what our brains are built to do, right? Like, it's detect change, and that's what has served us well, kept us safe. You could make the argument that over millennia that's kept us safe, and one of the things that I think grabs me about that is that as communications have changed and as barriers have broken down, we've had to learn to adapt to that particular stress, right? So there's this adapt to the stress that we're under. It's a new stress. You don't look like me. You don't act like me. You're not the same age as me. You didn't come from the same background as me. And that's like a really hard thing to do. And we're trying to adapt at a rate that is faster than probably ever in human history. And in a sense, I talked about this a little bit on Vice last night. We're failing. We're not adapting. We're failing to adapt to that, and it's showing that we're essentially busting at the seams. And so, so I guess for me to answer the question, what am I in pursuit of? I feel like incredibly blessed and lucky. I grew up in a family that, essentially is loving and, big family, lots of people. And so if you've ever grown up, you've seen like a big Italian family, like it's everything that you like hear about, it's like my big fat Greek wedding. Like I live that, except at this version of the generation, most of us aren't big and fat, we're not Greek, but like everything else, it's the same. Right? And essentially what's happened is that you experience this unbelievable like sense of love and acceptance of like who you are and everything you want to pursue, and you have truly a team behind you all the way. And so, like, for me, I feel like I've gotten chance after chance, opportunity after opportunity in life, and I just feel like health keeps that from spreading. Like, other people around the planet are not having the chances that we're all having, and there's, like, something in there that if we can just move the needle a little bit, we can give people an opportunity to, do amazing things. Express amazingness, and so I feel like, that's kind of what calls me every day. It's what wakes me up every day, and I think that is why I fly at such like that high level, because I kind of feel like we can get lost in the weeds of our day, and we forget about the impact that we can really have on the world around us, and it's pretty profound. Some little thing that you do today rubs off on me. It makes me think about what you just said, and then I start to question and change my beliefs, and then all of a sudden my actions are going to change, and I'm going to express some level of empathy that wasn't there last time, and I'm going to open up something for some grandmother who's going to pass on to their grandson. There's some craziness there and some complexity, but that's really what it is. So, for me, what I'm pursuing, if there's such a thing, and I kind of threw that out there with that exact goal, is to explore that. I'm pursuing every one of us to realize that we're way more powerful than we ever give ourselves credit for, and our interventions and in our knowledge, we can do some stuff. We can really make some change. And the world is begging for it, literally, begging for it at every turn. People are hurting, people are breaking, and we can help. And so I think anytime you're in a crisis situation, if you're in a crisis, you don't care who's next to you. You don't care what they look like. You don't care how old, how young, how qualified, what license they have. Like, that all goes away because you just want to get out of the crisis situation. And I feel like, what I hope to happen is that we realize we are in a crisis situation. Like right now, everywhere you look, like our country, our people, we're in a huge health crisis. And if we don't do something about it, we're not going to be leaving a world for our kids and our grandkids that we can be proud of. Yeah. So that haunts me, right? Like that's like, if on my gravestone it says like the guy was definitely crazy, but he tried really hard. Like that would be a major victory.
Success.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess that's it. Yeah.
I like how I know, like for me, you've helped me see, and many others see that like my skill set is not this big, but it's this big. Like I can help people in such a big, multifaceted manner, well beyond like the strength training that I would typically do with an older adult. So yeah, I appreciate that. I know all the people that are giving their thumbs up. Appreciate Mike as well. It's RJ.
And yeah,
that's smooth, man.
Fresh
so
from yesterday. I actually coming off of that. So, in talking about just like helping people, this was really cool. I had a really awesome experience last night on the plane ride. I was sitting next to a gal who is finishing her residency as part of her program and just happened to be coming out for the conference, and we ended up just chatting for most of the entire flight. And we're talking things PT and then things not PT and all that stuff. But there was a moment where when we were chatting, we were talking about like, so why did you get into PT and all of this stuff? And I've answered that question so many times, and we were talking on the way over here about like this whole concept, and I was thinking, there's the parts of me where dizziness and vestibular is such an underserved area, and like all of that stuff, and I deal with older adults and balance issues as well, and falls are like one of the biggest threats to an older adult's independence and all of these things. But like I think ultimately at its core, outside of just like putting my hat that's a physical therapist on, where I've felt always most like gratification in my life is just in a capacity of teaching and how that comes across in different ways. So like PT allows me such a good vehicle to like deliver that. And in talking of like why coming here, why doing this stuff, is I think of you like hear people talk about like Steve Jobs when he was in college but like dropped out of college and continued to like go to classes, and he went to I think it was like a calligraphy class, and he was learning about like the shapes and the art of like writing letters, and had no real purpose of like why he was there, but found it interesting. And then like a decade later when he's making the Mac, he's hammering his team about how important it is that the computer expresses emotion through the way that text works. So rather than, at that time, computers had really blocky letters for everything, he wanted to have like letters that had curves to them and that like flowed and was pleasant to read, and like shifted how the things that we interact with now on our phone don't even think about. Like text was a decision that had to be made. Yeah. But he made that from an experience like however long earlier in his life, where it's like moments coming here like this, talking with you guys, like I think of the butterfly effect that you were talking about, where like, what you may have just said will change exactly how I handle my practice when I get back to Vegas. And things that I'll pick up here, all of those become ways that when I'm in the clinic, in the shop with somebody, and I'm looking at where they need to take another step in their life, and it's like I have a bit of knowledge. And I can help them unlock what it is that they're looking for. And the more that I add experiences and moments into myself, but I never want to approach it like, well, I'm a PT and like this is the only way that I can look at things. Is like life, in probably so many ways of while we're here in New Orleans, is going to influence me. Like being able to come back to that and let that bleed over into how I conduct work and life at home. It is, how can I make this a positive bump forward in the environment around me? Because I know my circle of influence is only a certain size, but that changes when you're in healthcare, because you're having people that are basically being thrust into that circle of influence, and you're then leading them in a direction. So I look at opportunities like this anytime where I can get around people that are forward thinking and progressing things and will challenge the way that I think about structures and context of things, as such an opportunity to challenge myself to grow personally, because then I want to try to flip it. How can I then affect what's around me? And so that's a little like even far above just the PT view, but I think it's important that we always take that time to sharpen the saw and just get better.
Just imagine if we had beers instead of coffee.
So this would be a 2-hour episode.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, so I think the butterfly effect, I love thinking about that. So we're at CSM. There's going to be a lot of that. But if you all want the butterfly effect supercharged on steroids, I would highly recommend coming out to Vegas. So April, this guy.
Your birthday?
The day before is my birthday.
Okay, this guy's turning 27. Yeah.
We're having a party somewhere downtown. I can't tell them yet.
It's at RJ's clinic, physical. Awesome. So almost all the ICE faculty. I don't think Ryan Smith is able to make it. but RJ, Christina, I keep wanting to say Novak, Christina Previtt, Mike, Jeff Moore, Mitch, Dunaway, Morgan, Jason, Eric. I mean, I'm probably missing someone, but everyone's going to be there, just kind of delivering.
Performing arts too, right?
Performing arts. Jessica Davis is going to be there, so the whole crew. And y'all can come to that. So go to ptonice.com and look for the ice sampler. That's coming up super quick, and we're super pumped about it. I mean, CSM is a lot of fun. Like, we enjoy that, but there's something about getting with a smaller group of people to interact in a more kind of intimate level, to where you have this butterfly effect on steroids, and you will walk away completely changed. So I want to encourage you all to check that out. ptonice.com or ice.physio, either one works. But I'll put a link in the show notes. So if you are at CSM, come say hi to us at some point. But yeah, appreciate y'all.
And as I say, we've had a couple ice courses just in Vegas. Never the full sampler, but like Jeff's been out, Justin's been out, and I feel like we get better every time. Just in like setting up and the experience that we can deliver at the course, but then also, I mean, we have the world at our fingertips there in the evening.
Pretty hard to argue.
Yeah, it's such a cool place to connect, and there's so many things that like Jeff, we've been talking about what we'd like to do, and so it's going to be super engaging even outside the 8 to 5 course time, what we'll be able to do. So I promise it will be probably an experience you'll hold on to for the rest of your life. It may change the way you practice.
I love it.
It's awesome.
Cheers, fellas. Good start to the day.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for being here.
Thank y'all for watching.
Catch you later.
See you soon.